The prehistoric Europe passed on to the legendary generation of powerful and mysterious women who built European stone tombs, or crags. The legend of mystical women. In the master thesis in 2014, archaeologist Hanna Lindström of the University of Helsinki in Finland writes about folklore and legends that have been handed down over the years, referring to the supernatural who created and protected the stone. Portugal. Lindström's interesting thesis details tales from different parts of Europe about Mora Encantadas, the name Portugal uses to call mysterious women. The 14th century carbon dating method suggests that Europeans began building the meteorite between 4800 and 3800 BC, corresponding to the beginning of the Neolithic period. At first the rocks were large rocks standing alone, then they make a crown-like stone ring. The people of Portugal were the first to build the stone, around 4800 BC. There are thousands of famous Iberian mines. The description of the women who built them, folklore states that these women are powerful, they have immortality, youth, beauty and wealth, intellect and skill, they teach those things to people. Much of these skills are related to the Mora. Until the Neolithic Revolution, Mora taught people to spin, weave, make cheese, brew, plow and grow sheep, grow and crawl like a dish. Gifts for the people, wrote Lindström. She spoke linguistically connecting the Mora in Portugal with many other goddesses in Europe, including Greek Moirai, or the god Fates, who controls the fate of mankind with his mind, and even Zeus must answer. Spirit fates, like Mora Encantadas, woven the fate of mankind on the loom and cut it at the time of their death. Linguistics also offers a hint of the mission of the goddess Mora by linking them to the subject of death and soul, and studying folklore that links them to life, fertility, old age, health and wisdom, Lindström writes. The myths have changed over time. More stories are about Mora, as Moorish women are kept by a father's mantra forever, so they can protect hidden treasures underground or in stone tombs. They can be transformed into snakes and guarded by angry cows. Other stories say they live in a palace of gold and silver and are waiting for the day to be free, when a man kisses Mara, who is in the form of a giant snake. Or that man must be eaten, then he will return in human form again. These efforts were never made, and the Mora were still sad and dazed, and so much so that their tears formed rivers and lakes, wrote Lindström. The earlier myth, however, did not refer to Moorish affiliations or spellings, but instead said they were living in the underworld of caves or graves and did not want anything from humans, except milk, which makes them addictive. They can own treasure and survive in the form of goats, cows or snakes, but are transformed in their own way. They have the moral challenge of man, and if that person deserves, they can get a reward. Mora is said to be cruel to the wicked. A person who has broken up with Mora may have to die, wrote Lindström. In other legends recorded by Portuguese sources in the late 19th century, people sought Mora at noon, midnight or midsummer to help them heal the desire to have children or luck in love. The Mora can challenge their Xingxing before helping out. In other stories, the Mora are rabbits, chickens and piglets, which can be used as gifts for humans. There is another story saying that the Mora appear as a sign that death is approaching, or she appears when a woman has a difficult birth, or even can decide the outcome of the birth. Is a survivor between mother and child. The Mora are also said to have lived in this world before man was created. When people appear, they play the heroes, teach people to cultivate and farm, go to sea and wrought iron. Another example of stonemakers and weaving fates is a document from the British Isles about Cailleach Bara. Lindström writes. Like the Mora, she is thought to be both young and old, and she often turns into a cow or a buffalo. Like Babylon's Ishtar and folklore, she rejuvenated herself by bathing every 500 years in a certain lake. Many people love Cailleach, and in some stories it may be a horny sun. She dominated the weather, making snowfall by talking the duck feather down to drop the cotton. Beside the weather, Cailleach also harbors crops. Winter started and the landscape turned white when she washed her gray hoodie in a narrow bay, and spring came when her hammer was thrown under a bush. Cailleach is older than any living creature, She has created all the landscapes in her world, and can remember them from time to time. She also built stone tombs, many of them named after her. She also moves in the underworld and talks to the dead. Lindstrom writes about one of the many genres of legend in which the Mora appears here when the time begins, and she shapes everything: hills, valleys and rivers, stone tombs, vertical stonework and dread paintings on stone, and then produces children, who have it as the ancestor of the community who told the legend. What was before in this place? A goddess along with her own landscapes, creatures and people in a cycle of life? May. The letters written in the stone, Lindstrom said. The art and symbolism of the Portuguese rock tombs, and they point to the sunrise or lunar eclipses, can be described as describing their faith of rebirth. Art itself is used to guide people in life, death and rebirth, to move between the worlds of life and death. Megalithic tombs are burial sites and ritual burial sites, but it seems that it is not just that, or that it's not the main function. It is likely that they are like Christian churches, spiritual centers where the community has celebrated important dates and events, to negotiate and agree on issues related to the whole, the community, and to enhance their community. She said that the bishops of Christianity in later years forbade annual celebrations around the grave. The church also destroyed some of the graves and other holy sites. However, the legend of the Moors still stands firmly over time.